Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Adam Claiborne, and this is the hour-long show where we are showcasing what's happening here across the western United States. And we are going to begin today in Portland, where they are now getting hit hard by an atmospheric river that's causing widespread damage. And if you have been really sticking with us here for the past week or so, we've been talking about a lot of the Seattle area getting hit hard by an atmospheric river. Well, the pattern's beginning to shift farther to the south, and yesterday that brought heavy rain and intense wind, and more is on the way there across the Portland metro. Take a look at this. The Oregon Department of Transportation has been working to clear trees from Highway 213. It's closed right now and in two spots, one by Clackamas Community College and the other one is a longer section near the Fisher's Corner area. That's just the start of the damage. One of the biggest examples in Oregon saw from yesterday's weather happened in Dales. Strong winds tore off a large chunk of the roof at a medical facility where thousands of people rely on. No one was hurt, but county commissioners have declared a state of emergency due to downed trees and road closures. Water's Edge Medical Facility generally serves 150 to 175 people per day. Though for now it's closed and it's unclear when it will reopen as leaders look to find an alternative location to see some patients. After Wednesday morning storm went through the building, that was leaving the roof in shambles and the interior in very bad shape too.
We didn't truly understand the total estimate of damage until we actually walked through the building later in the day and realized the severe damage both structurally and to the roof.
Thompson says during the storm there were 3 patients and 1 employee inside. Everyone was able to evacuate safely before fire crews arrived. All right, we've been talking about this storm, how it's been really beginning to pivot south and how a lot of the moisture has now been really focused on the Portland metro area. And you can see the radar right there, a pipeline of moisture hitting the region, helping to reduce all the strong winds and the heavy rain that's been falling here recently. We're going to give you an update right here with meteorologist Rod Hill. He'll let you know how things are shaping up for us right now and what we're expecting here as we go throughout the day.
Here in Portland on a Thursday, we are getting waterlogged. Hi, everybody. I'm Rod Hill. Our big story, we have multiple big stories. Actually, this is the Watch warning map from the Weather Service. And the green, which is kind of underlaid everything from Seattle all the way down to not to the California border, but down south of Eugene, flood watch. The Weather Service has extended this into Saturday. Now, the heavy rain or the steady rain won't break up here until after midnight tonight. And then we just have scattered showers tomorrow, and Saturday looks mainly dry. But the flood watch extended into Saturday for rising river level potential. The red, which is along our central coast, Newport, Lincoln City, Depot Bay, and southward, high wind warnings along the coast today. So we have a lot of things we're tracking. We had an atmospheric river that lasted about 60 hours or so last week. This one's only going to be 24 hours, but it's going to come with more intense heavy rain rates than the one last week. The Clackamas, Sandy, Pudding, South Yamhill, Lackawanna, Siletz, Wilson, Johnson Creek, Hood River. These are all waterways that are currently projected to go above flood stage, in some cases by 3 to 4 to 5 feet overnight tonight and mainly Friday morning. And there may be other rivers added to this list, but this shows you at the National Weather Service, the hydrologists and the River Forecasting Center are really expecting a good chunk of our rivers to go over their banks tonight and tomorrow. All right, we have a wind advisory for the valley. I'm not sure if we have a wind issue today or not. It will become at least blustery today. The north coast gust to 55 potentially this afternoon into early evening. The central coast under that wind warning for 60 to 70 mile per hour potential winds. And for the valley, we're at least going to pick up south 15 to 30. Haven't had much wind out yet this morning, but that's going to change. Again, maybe we get a 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gust. I'm not sure, but maybe. All right, and then high winds also hitting the mountains. Here's the atmospheric river this time around. You see the solid fetch of moisture, the cloudiness just streaming right into us. Futurecast shows the yellow into the red-orange colors. That's the increasing rain rates going into this afternoon. It's been heavy snow up on Mount Hood and the Cascades early this morning, but that's going to be changing to all rain as snow levels go up to 7,000 feet. And again, here are the intense colors. This could be the overwhelming big headline in terms of impacting the most people. High water spots, lane closures because of that, flooded out intersections, that type of thing. We think that there's a strong possibility that's going to be a hazard, especially for the afternoon drive back home. Again, overnight after midnight, it all breaks up into scattered showers, and then we'll just be dealing with the aftermath of the high water spots. The projections, this shows about 2 inches in Portland, and there's reason to believe that it could be more than that. Our record rainfall for a 24-hour period in December is 2.67 inches. I looked that up for a reason. All right, we've got 2.5 inches of rain expected down in Corvallis. Our live cameras just show the sogginess. That was Lincoln City. Here's Salem, our state capital, of course, and there's downtown Portland. Afternoon temperatures will bounce with a warm front coming in midday up into the 50s. Some snow showers out in parts of eastern Oregon. And here's our 7-day forecast. KGW weather impact alert today and tomorrow. Again, the active weather is today and tonight. Tomorrow it's the aftermath with scattered showers dealing with high water spots and rising river levels. Saturday mainly dry. Rain picks up on Sunday, but there's no strong system between Sunday and Christmas Eve Wednesday.
Clackamas County saw a lot of action, including trees and live power lines that came down on a school bus in West Lynn. They trapped a driver and a student inside until TVF and our crews arrived and worked with PGE to cut power and get both out safely. Here's what some folks are dealing with in Estacada, where a downed power line sparked a fire. Just check that out right there. Authorities caution people not to try to put out the fire on the power lines there or to go anywhere near a downed line. Instead, assume any line is live, stay indoors or in your vehicle, and immediately call 911. The number of those waiting in the dark is steadily dropping. Clark Public Utilities says they'll keep working until everyone's power is restored.
In East Vancouver, the marathon of power restoration continued Wednesday night. Crews from Clark Public Utilities repairing power lines toppled by trees. Neighbors here lost power around 1:30 Wednesday morning.
I heard the wind
when the storm bore down, but they're hopeful
that the lights get turned on and my freezer full of salmon doesn't go bad.
For now, Andrew Culver's getting by with a headlamp and candles.
We don't miss it until it's gone. So like our phones, I've had to huckle down in my car to charge my phone.
At one point, Clark PUD reported 98,000 customers were without power.
Things have been very busy, just trying to restore power, triage the damage, and build a game plan.
Damian Pizzanti with Clark PUD says crews are working around the clock and relying on customers to report power outages to help them pinpoint the damage. Crews snap photos like this bird's eye view of downed power poles in Hawkinson. All over Clark County, massive trees uprooted as saturated soil gave way to high wind.
To date, I have not experienced an atmospheric river this large or seen outages to quite this level at one time.
In Camas, the storm plagued local businesses, including Grains of Wrath. Parts of their outdoor seating area shredded. The restaurant posted they're closed until further notice.
We were going to eat here, but now we're going to find something else, hopefully. The power is hit and miss throughout the town. Some things are open and right next door, some things are closed.
Back in East Vancouver, a sober reminder that this was just round one.
As we are digging ourselves out of this storm, we are actively planning and discussing how we're going to prepare for the next one.
And for that reason, a message to crews from Andrew, co-signed by countless others.
I know that they're working very hard, and thank you very much for all that you do.
And we're getting tons of images right now from the damage from our station in Portland. The storm didn't just affect the city, but the coast as well. The Historic Air Museum in Tillamook is now closed after the windstorm peeled back a 150-foot section of the hangar's roof. The museum's director says no one was hurt, and the building doesn't appear to be seriously damaged. Still, the museum moved all aircraft out of the hangar as a precaution. All right, everyone, when we get back, we are going to head a bit off to the east. Then we're going to check out what's happening in Boise as well as in Spokane. Some weather impact days over there, and we'll let you know when we get back. All right, welcome back, everyone. So these atmospheric rivers, we've been talking about them quite a bit. They oftentimes hold with them a lot of moisture, but also a lot of subtropical moisture, which is going to bring a milder air mass. So a lot of the rain that's been falling for areas closer to the coast around Portland and Seattle has been coming along with a milder air mass that has brought highs more so into the 50s, even the 60s, and some of those higher snow levels. And that means off towards the east, where we would typically see a bit more snow. In places like Boise, we've been seeing a little bit more rain with these systems that have been coming on through, but could see a bit more rain, but also a bit more wind too as we go throughout the next couple of days with these systems that are going to be riding their way on through the region. But we could eventually start to see a little more snow in the Boise area. Hector Mendoza has your forecast.
Well, this is just one of many videos that we got of some damage that we got because of the winds we had yesterday. This was out in Haley. Gloria posted this on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page, and you can see that tree just uprooted from the ground and then topped over on that fence. And again, we saw a lot of that damage here with some of the heavy and strong winds that we got yesterday. Lots of power outages, and unfortunately, we had 2 kids that were hurt and someone that had died due to some of those downed trees. So again, just lots of severe weather when it came to that here yesterday. And this is just a look at some of the wind gusts that we got, almost 70 miles an hour out in Twin Falls. And there in Haley, as you saw in that video, as it was strong enough to knock over that tree there, 63 miles an hour is what we got in terms of the max wind gusts. And some other spots got well above that, getting between 70 to 80 miles per hour. But as we get on towards today, we're expecting breezy conditions here, but not nearly as strong as we saw yesterday. The other thing that was a little bit wacky in terms of our weather yesterday was not just those crazy winds that we saw yesterday, but some of the temperatures that we had through the morning. A lot of these temperatures, as we got those afternoon highs, which normally come around 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a lot of these high temperatures, we got them early on and through the morning. So 58 degrees was a record there in Boise, and we saw Mountain Home, Twin Falls, McCall, and Ontario all set new records yesterday as we were into the 60s for Mountain Home and Twin Falls, upper 40s for McCall, and into the upper 50s there in Ontario. And as you can see, we significantly surpassed a lot of these records by several degrees as we went in through yesterday morning. And a lot of these temperatures took a nosedive as we got towards the afternoon and into the evening as we got much cooler. And then we saw a drop that almost 30 degrees here this morning here in many spots across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, and even about 25 degrees out in Stanley. But as we look at the satellite and radar picture, we're seeing a lot more of that wet weather making its way in, wet and wintry, as we're going to see some snow that is possible in portions of the valleys, as we'll see some very light flurries. And at times throughout the rest of the day, we're going to see several inches of snow and a significant amount above 7,000 feet. So as we zoom on just a little bit closer, as we look at a lot of the spots here across southwest Idaho, we've already seen some snowfall there in portions of Sun Valley. And because of the significant amount of snowfall we're expecting here and through the next couple of days, a winter storm warning is set into effect until Saturday morning. And as I mentioned, above 7,000 feet, there's a chance to see a lot of that snow start to stack up. A possibility of 1 to 2 feet of snow through Saturday is possible. Below 7,000 feet and hitting around just above 6,500 feet, we could see a chance of 5 to 8 inches of snow in some of those areas. So as we pass through this future cast here through this afternoon, we'll see that a lot of those snow levels that have started around the surface there are going to climb its way on up, and then we're going to expect to see a lot of that snow just sticking around to some of the higher elevations as we're going to start to see a warm front that continues to roll through, and that's what's going to continue to rise up a lot of these snow levels. And we're going to stay dry here through most of our Friday, see some of that rain return through portions of the Magic Valley and the Treasure Valley, and then we're expecting to see a lot more of those drier and calmer conditions in through Saturday as we get a brief break from a lot of the active weather before our next system comes in, and we see a lot more moisture coming in as we'll see rain and breezier conditions return for Sunday, a lot more of that to begin the following week. And then as we head closer in through Christmas Eve, temperatures will warm up, but we'll continue with some scattered showers there through Wednesday.
All right, you can see there in Boise, we are talking about more rain rather than seeing any sort of snow, especially there in the city itself. While just off to the north, you get closer to Spokane, you do have enough cold air that we could see maybe a little more snowfall in the city and especially in the mountains, as we are going to keep this active pattern going, albeit it looks like it will be less wet and maybe a bit more chilly to go along with more of the snow up across the higher terrain. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick has your forecast in Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick, and the inland Northwest is still reeling from the effects of our near historic windstorm that we had yesterday. Wind gusts 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. Things have calmed down this morning. There's still quite a bit of damage in the region. Still quite a few people still without power, though crews working quickly to try to clean that up. But we're always just on to the next storm system. And now a whole lot of moisture has entered the Pacific Northwest. You're going to notice a lot of rain on the west side. For us, it's a bit more rain and snow, though as temperatures warm up, it will lean a bit more towards the rain end of that equation by the end of the day. We have gone with a weather impact alert day more to just make sure everybody has been prepared and not get caught off guard by this wet and slushier snowfall. But we're going to see things transition very quickly into rain. So you won't notice any winter weather advisories necessary for lowlands around eastern Washington or North Idaho. Mountains, a different story. They're clearly going to get snow. Even the Cascades have been getting plenty of snow already this Thursday morning, but closer towards Spokane, Washington and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, it's kind of a half and half split so far this morning. I will say that my own personal observation at 8 a.m. was that it was just raining, though that may still flip back and forth between rain and snow before noon, before the rain starts to take over from there. And our temperatures will go from about 36 degrees in the morning to 44 by the evening. So let me put it this way. When I put the forecast map together for 0 to 1 inch of snow, that was to account for snow falling, but not necessarily sticking. If you were going to measure how much snow sticks, it's probably going to be really close to 0 here, because it's just going to melt almost as quickly as it falls. Certainly as it hits the ground and the road, the grass might hold it for a little bit, but any rain that falls today, it's going to melt that off just as fast as it even falls in the first place. So any morning snow has no chance to even stick around by the end of the day, as temperatures warm and warm, and we ultimately will just end up with rain by the afternoon. Quite a bit of wind as well. Nothing like the windstorm that we had yesterday, but some 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts are once again likely for eastern Washington. So here's how the storm will move through the region. Even our own future tracker, which is a computer model simulation of these storms, actually just went all rain for Spokane, and I kind of generally agree with that. Lower elevations of Spokane County will likely just be all rain today. The higher elevations, like out towards Airway Heights, Deer Park, and then north from there, probably start as snow, but they too will flip over to rain by the end of the day. Look at how much warmer it gets. Even our modeling just goes all green, all rain by the evening, as temperatures will warm into tonight. So that's the warm front at first. Cold front will zip through, and that is what's going to give us the wind later tonight. We also have winter weather advisories, but just for the mountains and mountain passes. So Lookout Pass, Sherman Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, all under winter weather advisories, as the return of mountain snow is generally a good thing. We want to see that, but any drivers over the passes should just be prepared for some winter weather driving. But it's just going to be more wet than anything else today, with a bit more wind by tonight as the cold front once again passes through.
And as meteorologist Thomas Patrick was saying, it is nice to get the snowpack to start to build here across parts of the Pacific Northwest, because you need that heading into the summer. Speaking of the Pacific Northwest, our forecast in Seattle is coming up right after this with meteorologist Rich Myriad. We'll be talking about that after this. Thanks for joining us again, everyone. Before we get to the weather in Seattle, some good news coming out of there. Snoqualmie Pass, where snow is much needed, fell overnight, and more is on the way. Seattle's Drew Andre is on the summit, where skiers are holding on to the hope that the start of the season is just around the corner.
Well, the snow's been coming down all morning here at the summit. Pretty good snowball weather here too. And it also points towards us getting a lot closer to the ski lifts opening up here in Snoqualmie. Right now, there is no set opening date, but I was checking out the Summit at Snoqualmie's website, and right now it shows operating hours on Christmas Day. So still fluid, but this is a real positive sign. And businesses around here really need that too. It has been an extremely long shoulder season for them. Typically by around late November, they say that's when they start to get busy. But when the ski lifts aren't open, there's not a lot of people that are coming up here. For example, the Summit Inn said they've just had a ton of cancellations over the course of the last couple of weeks. So they are hoping this comes sooner rather than later. And as it looks here on the roadways, you can see a fair amount of snow. A lot of plows have been coming through here over the course of the morning. But the conditions along I-90 are pretty good because you have to reach a fair amount of elevation before we're even seeing any snow on the roadways on the highway. Reporting from the Summit, Drew Andre, King 5 News.
All right, great to see there the snow coming down at Snoqualmie Pass. And this is going to all lead to and kind of show the pattern shift that we're going to see up here across the Pacific Northwest. We were talking about those atmospheric rivers that were hitting the Seattle area and how they oftentimes do come with a milder air mass. Well, it looks like as that begins to pivot southward, we'll get the cooler air in place to help to drop those snow levels again here across the area. And that will mean with some additional systems coming through, an added snowpack to the Cascades and the Olympic Mountains as we go over the next week or so. How much is on the way? Meteorologist Rich Marriott has the details.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and well, the rain is back, but not as heavy as what we've been experiencing recently, especially not what we were seeing earlier this week when we were just getting deluged around here. We do have steady rain in the lowlands, but not as heavy, and the really good news is we have snow in the mountains, so we're going to be locking up that water in the mountains for a while rather than dumping it directly into the river basins. The snow will turn briefly to rain this afternoon, but then it's going to shift back to snow as we head towards this evening and pretty much stay snow all the way into the middle part of next week, which is great for keeping it out of the river systems and also for building the snowpack. Take a look out this morning. It's been kind of a rainy and occasionally breezy morning out there. There in Bellingham, we've been watching the camera kind of bounce around occasionally. It's taking a little bit of a break right now. Checking out there at Everett's Payne Field, looking out across the runways. It's looking pretty wet this morning as that rain comes down. But again, in terms of quantities, it's much less than what we saw last week, but it does still keep everything on the damp side. Tacoma, we've had some gusty winds down there. Those have let up for the moment and just some rain coming down at this point. Seeing our 7-day forecast, relatively mild today around 50, and then you see those highs as we head into tomorrow and on into next week, stay down in the mid-40s. That's going to keep our snow levels down around, give or take, around the 2,000-foot level, which is great because that will put snow into the bases of the ski areas. And again, it will lock up that water up in the mountains rather than putting it into the river basin. So that's great news overall. It's another shot from an atmospheric river. This one you can see, if you look closely down here, see the Hawaiian Islands, specifically the little tail of it goes right through Oahu and then all the way up towards us, but it's headed primarily down into central and northern Oregon. That's where the most rain's going to be and the warmest temperatures. We're just going to catch the edge of that, so that's really helpful for us given all the flooding we've already seen. We track the motion of that. You see this morning it's just barely touching us, and then as that front moves through this afternoon, it drops well to the south of us, and you can see the flow coming into us now is at that point starts to come in from up there in the Gulf of Alaska. So that cooler flow that's going to keep our snow levels down around 2,000 feet. And that should just help storms march through here. It looks like one after another. It looks like not really heavy rain in the lowlands, but it will be wet in the lowlands. But it will continue to build a snowpack up in the mountains, which I think everybody is ready to see. Take a look at our rainfall totals between now and tomorrow morning. You can see generally around a ½ an inch. Now, earlier in the week and last week, we were running occasionally 1 to 2 inches in the lowlands. In the mountains, we'll see roughly 1 to 2 inches, and well, last week sometimes we were seeing 4 to 6 inches in the same period of time. So the magnitude of the rainfall definitely much less. And again, what's falling in the mountains will be pretty much, especially after later on today, is going to be principally snow up there. So that should be really helpful. Take a look at our wind gusts. The winds are going to kick up. It's going to be breezy during the day, but as that front rolls through here, probably between about 3 o'clock up around Bellingham, dropping down through Seattle, probably by about 4:30, we are going to see some gusty windy winds develop. And we're going to gust, you can see there the wind gusts in Seattle pushing 50 miles an hour. So it's going to be pretty windy briefly, but that moves on through, and those wind gusts will start to fall off as we get past that, but still going to be a little breezy overnight tonight. Take a look at the passes. This is mid-morning up at Snoqualmie Pass. They've gotten about 1.5 inches of snow since 3 o'clock this morning. Traction tires are advised for the highway at this point, about snow and slush on the roadway, but it's nice to see the snow finally starting to show up there. Again, we're going to see that turn to rain as we head towards later on. In fact, as we head towards the afternoon, you see that rain comes down, but by the time we get to about 8 o'clock this evening, starting to see that transition back to snow, and it looks like it'll be staying snow through the day tomorrow. And we could pick up anywhere from about 5 to maybe 8-10 inches by tomorrow morning, and maybe a similar amount as we head towards tomorrow. So we're going to finally start building that snowpack and at least maybe partially get some of the ski areas open before we get on to Christmas. High temperatures today warming up a little bit over yesterday, which was the first time in 2 weeks that we actually got our high was under 50 degrees. They're back into the 50s today, but then as we get that cooler airflow starting to push in here, you see those highs drop back to the mid 40s, and that's pretty much going to be the story all the way into Christmas Day. So for today, steady rain through the day, snow in the mountains. That snow turns to rain as we head towards this afternoon into the early evening, then back to snow, and we see the steady rain as that front comes through, pretty much cut back to just a couple of showers around during the evening. At the Seahawks game tonight, it looks like mostly it's wind that's going to be an issue, not the rain coming down. And we'll be looking for the temperature today near 50. But then as we head towards Friday and really on through the week and into next week, we're looking for these systems to move through. We'll have some steady rain followed by some showers, maybe a little bit of a pause before the next system pushes right on through a pretty fast westerly flow into us. And those high temperatures, those are going to be staying mostly in the 40s. And just as winter arrives officially on Sunday.
Sure, skiers and snowboarders are getting excited about that forecast. And while things are cooling down there in Seattle, for Denver, they're actually going to be warming up. And for Phoenix, well, they're going to be staying warm. We'll have the details on those forecasts coming up. Thanks for joining us again here on Weather Out West. We are going to continue our trip of forecast now to the Mile High State, where we are seeing some warm weather out across the state of Colorado, especially in Denver, where we could possibly see highs up near the 70-degree mark. Plenty of sunshine to go along with that too. Meteorologist Kathy Sabin as well as Katie LaSalle have the details.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We suffered through an extreme wind event yesterday. The winds aloft leading up to the wind event brought in wonderful cloud cover, and we had some great color in the sky in areas like Steamboat. The sunrise, the sunset pictures coming in all week long have been magnificent. Not so magnificent? Well, our Christmas forecast. Everybody wants a white Christmas. Of course we do. And with our drought scenario playing out and, of course, the fire weather forecasting that we're doing, this temperature trend from the 19th all the way through the 25th, not great. For the next 8 to 14 days, the trend is for above average temperatures here in Colorado, something we really don't want to be talking about. We have that atmospheric river bringing too much water to places like the Pacific Northwest, but this dominant ridge keeps all of that moisture and the storm track north. Now, we did have a weak front that came through yesterday, and it brought a little snow to the mountains and brought a whole lot of wind to the Front Range. We had gusts at 90 and 100 miles per hour, fire weather warnings and red flag warnings, high wind warnings out all day. It is a calmer and cooler Thursday, and there's still a little bit of light snow up in the northern mountains, but light, that's the main word here. We don't have any advisories for snow or travel, but you know what? Moisture in the form of snow and light snow is great to see. There may be some travel impacts today on our main artery into the mountains on I-70, but in Denver, we start cold in the 30s and warm today only to the 50s, which is actually above average, but we've been in the 60s and 70s for the past week. We put a potential weather impact alert in for Friday because the wind may return for some areas, not to the extent that we saw Wednesday. We have a nice Saturday, and then of course the winter solstice on Sunday, but a new season, not exactly a new weather pattern. Back to sunshine and 60s for the first part of next week.
I'm 9 News weather impact teams Katie LaSalle and millions of Americans, as well as a lot of people here across Colorado, dealing with an extreme wind event yesterday. So Wednesday, December 17th, we saw wind gusts at 109 miles per hour recorded at Mesa Lab in South Boulder. Boulder dealing with power outages as of Thursday, 91 mile per hour wind gusts and over 100 mile per hour wind gusts over Rocky Flats, Berthoud Pass, damaging conditions, power outages, and we are still dealing with high winds over portions of the eastern plains and mountains as of Thursday morning. But we are bracing for another system set to bring in high winds once again, low relative humidity. We will be seeing the potential for those high winds causing some damage in spots with 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts possible in the mountains and foothills for Friday. Lighter conditions for the metro area, but again, we'll see those winds pick up steam as we get into late Friday night. So the National Weather Service, as of right now, has issued a fire weather watch for the entire I-25 corridor, the Denver metro area, low relative humidity, high wind gusts. If a fire were to spark, it could spread rapidly. So I wanted to look at what changes a watch to a warning. So a watch is issued for the dry, windy weather ahead 72 hours in advance. This is what we're bracing for. Sustained winds of 20 miles per hour or more, low relative humidity under 25%, warm, dry conditions, which is what we've seen. Drought conditions continue to impact a big portion of the plains. And then the warning occurs 24 hours in advance when conditions are occurring or are expected to occur. So I do expect, that is, to see the National Weather Service switch that watch over to a warning with this next system moving in. But fortunately, calmer conditions return across the West Coast and here over Colorado for the end of the weekend.
All right, looking pretty warm there in Denver, and it's looking warmer in Phoenix, albeit sunshine and 70s, maybe even 80s. Not a bad way as we get ready to head on into the beginning of winter and possibly heading closer to Christmas Eve, where there could be maybe a tiny chance of some rain in the forecast by then near the Phoenix area. Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries has your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where, yeah, everybody across the nation noticing what's going on here because we've got prime weather, albeit a little bit on the warm side for us, and we should set some new records next week. But you know what? The snowbirds, they're flocking here because of views like this. Yes, a couple of cotton candy clouds in the sky in the higher elevations. Prescott, one of our 12 News weather watchers, sending me in this view of the link. So Michelle, you know what? In honor of you, going to give you a little bit of a breakdown of how your morning is shaping up if you want to, go take in 18 holes today. We're at about 52 degrees in the morning, warming up to 56 by 9 o'clock, staying at 60 through 10 o'clock, and we're still not even breaking out in the 70s until well into the noon hour. So yeah, nice little layer in the morning, but you'll peel that off in the afternoon as our daytime highs are pushing up 10 degrees above where we typically are this time of the year. That means 77 today in Phoenix. I've got 81 in Yuma, about 60 at the Grand Canyon, one better in Flagstaff, 72 in Globe, and 77 in Tucson. Now let's look ahead, because I did mention that we've got the potential for some records coming in, and I'm looking for that on Sunday and potentially Monday as well. A couple things happening. First of all, high pressure in charge, so we're really elevating those numbers. But the other thing, notice this, our records really start to come down. I mean, right now our records in the mid upper 80s. We've got a record of 83 on Saturday. So even though we're well above the normal range, not going to beat it. I don't expect until Sunday, as the records fall to 79 and hold through Tuesday, and our temperatures are climbing to about 82 on Monday, that we, should meet a couple or beat a couple records and then meet the record on Tuesday. Now this warm up next week is also warm air preceding a front that has an excellent opportunity of bringing in rain by the time we get to Christmas. So lots of folks here in the desert are saying 80s in December. My, oh my, we don't want it that warm. It is something we usually always see in December, at least 2 to 4 days. Now, the most amount of days we've ever seen 80-degree temps in December, 7 days. Right now, and that happened in 1980. Right now, we have 2 days in the 80s. I think we're going to rack up another 2 on Sunday and Monday, but then that should be it for the month. So we should go down with about 4 days, which again is normal for us because we are elevated. But boy, oh boy, is that changing, as yes, we are having increased opportunity for rain all week. It's been looking like 20% chance, but now I think it's closer to 40%. Not until the end of next week. We still have high pressure in charge. That's keeping us on the warm side. But look at here. On the 23rd, we start to see a leading edge of moisture coming through. Now, the main event is still well to the west of us. It just looks like a little bit of moisture is trying to collect with overnight activity expected Christmas Eve into Christmas Day into the evening hours. But again, there's still plenty of moisture parked off the coastline. So we're talking about a 9-10 day forecast model. Just understand it's in development. So until that time, Flagstaff, you're in the low 60s today, but you're dropping into the mid 50s as we prep for that storm. And in the valley, we've got nothing but net through the weekend as record temperatures are expected by Monday, but we're even seeing a 20% chance of rain developing by Wednesday.
All right, when we get back, we are going to head farther west to the state of California and check out our forecast in San Diego as well as in Sacramento. We'll talk about it after this. Welcome back. Well, after a long stretch of dry weather as well as some of that fog around more of the valley area of California, we're going to start to switch things up, and it looks like rain is back in the forecast for quite some time as we head into the weekend and next week. Monica Woods has your forecast for Sacramento.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, and we're tracking a big prolonged atmospheric river event that will bring holiday travel impacts. So let's go ahead and break it down. The timeline that we're going to start off with here is Sunday through Monday, when we start to see wetter, cooler and windy weather, as well as lowering snow levels. Need to prepare for extra travel time, especially in the mountains where we'll see those changing snow elevations. You can see as we move through in time during the weekend and next week, we're going to see big accumulations coming through the valley, anywhere from about 3 to 4 inches for Sacramento up to about 6 to 8 inches of rain for Redding. Once we get into the Sierra, we're going to be talking about feet of snow, all leading up to Christmas Day. Statewide precipitation, it has been a fairly decent start to the water year. We hit a big dry spell here throughout December, and that means we're starting to see some of those deficits grow throughout Northern California. Southern California looking pretty good, but we really need the snowpack at this point in the year. I want to go ahead and show you all these red dots in and around the Tahoe Basin. Those are indicating not only really low snowpack, but in some places historic lows. One site that we were looking at was the Central Sierra Snow Lab, where we saw virtually no snowpack on the ground there. We need the snow. That's the bottom line. Futurecast indicating not much coming in over the next 24 hours. Not until Friday during the day do we start to see that rain band picking up. But you'll also notice it's mostly rain in the Sierra, except for some of the highest points there in the Central Sierra, in and around Yosemite. That's good news, but then we get rain right after it. So it's a really short window that we have some of the cooler air coming in on the short-term forecast. 8 to 14-day weather hazards outlook, though, puts us right in the path of some moderate risk for not only heavy rain, but also heavy snow for the Sierra. And this is when it really gets interesting. Let's go ahead and fast forward into our Saturday, Sunday outlook. That's when we see this big plume of moisture starting to head our way. Again, a lot of Sierra rain, but then by the time we get into Sunday into Monday, that is starting to transition into snow, and it lasts all the way into Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, into Southern California, giving us some much needed rain and snow, just not the timing that we would prefer. Highs for our Thursday in the 50s for the Sierra, 50s and 60s throughout the foothills. This is going to be a really good day to clean out the storm drains, get ready with all the mountain travel needs in the car if you plan to head up into the high country, as we'll be seeing highs in the 50s and 60s. Down low throughout the valley, we finally scoured out that fog and looking at a mix of sun and clouds with highs in the 50s. Central coast, we're still dry through much of our Thursday, but then we're going to bring in the rain by the time we get into our Friday forecast, especially through the Bay Area with temperatures in the 50s and 60s. 50s and 60s as we head inland, and then along the northwest coast, we've got more in the way of wet weather. North end of the valley, highs are going to be in the 50s as well. Capital region, it's not so much in the way of cold weather that we've been tracking and foggy. Instead, these are pretty close to average highs in the mid to upper 50s, almost near 60. Our extended forecast really showing the onset of the rain. Once that begins, it stays with us deep into the forecast. That will take us all the way into a big travel week for the holidays. We've got the weather impact alert on Sunday and Monday. The rain keeps going all the way into Christmas and beyond.
We've been also dealing with fog around the San Diego area as well. Forecast down that way, though, it doesn't look wet initially, but you can see, as we just learned from Sacramento's forecast, eventually some of those showers will be heading to the southern part of the state as well. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz has your forecast.
And happy Thursday, Friday Eve, everyone. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz here in San Diego, California. We had a lot less clouds this morning. That was good for drivers, morning commuters, and it's all due to the return of easterly flow. That's also going to warm things up slightly this afternoon, and then we'll have cooling thanks to onshore flow making a return looking ahead to Friday. So here are the weather headlines as we kind of kick off the second half of the work week. Morning fog will be more confined to the immediate coast in the coming mornings, and warmer days ahead, especially now all the way through Friday for interior parts of the county. Taking a look even farther ahead, we are looking at the potential for a wet Christmas starting as early as Tuesday, lasting all the way through the end of Christmas week. As we take a look at yesterday's record heat, again, easily have been breaking records several days in a row. Campo and Palomar Mountain beat their, or actually tied their records of 81 and 67 yesterday. That's how unusually warm it's been for this time of year. Winds, again, they will shift out of the east later on today. That will warm things up all the way through this afternoon. And then we'll have the return of onshore flow looking ahead to Friday. And that's going to cool things down, potentially bringing in back that marine layer all the way towards the valleys. As we take a look at highs for today, today will be the warmest day of the work week, and then temperatures will start to drop gradually as we get into the weekend. So expect 80s, plenty of 80s, daytime highs anywhere between 10 to nearly 20 degrees warmer than average. For the inland valleys, we'll be in the low 70s from Oceanside all the way down to downtown San Diego, mid 70s on tap for spots like Chula Vista. Here's what's on tap for tomorrow. Notice how we have a lot less 80s that will average along the inland valleys. We'll be back into the 70s for the inland and mountain neighborhoods. Mid 80s for the deserts and high 60s for our coastline. As we take a look at the big picture, high pressure is eventually going to weaken, and we are going to have a couple of storms that will be brewing off the Pacific Northwest and off the coast of British Columbia. That's going to dive south, a cutoff low, and it will tap into some subtropical moisture, potentially bringing us some rain as early as Tuesday morning. That's when San Diego could get hit with some light showers. And then it becomes a little more widespread, intensifying by the time we get to Wednesday night, also known as Christmas Eve, lingering into Thursday as well as Friday. So here's what it looks like day by day, starting tomorrow all the way through Wednesday and Thursday. Notice how the highest chances are Wednesday. That's when we could see the greatest amounts. And then we look to see that storm subside a little bit on Friday. November did wonders for our water year, put us at a surplus, but the surplus is actually dropping because December is supposed to be one of the wettest months of the year, and we haven't seen any rain this month as of yet. So this storm will certainly help when it comes to our water year numbers. As we take a look at the coastal and inland areas over the next 7 days, as I mentioned, today's warm. Tomorrow will still be warm in the high 70s for the inland valleys, and then temperatures will start to drop a few degrees. And then we're back in the 60s ahead of that rain come next Tuesday. As we take a look at the mountains and desert areas, we'll be in the mid 70s for tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll shave off a few degrees. Not so much fluctuation for the desert areas, or excuse me, the mountains. It really doesn't start to feel like a noticeable drop until we get to Tuesday. Mid 80s tomorrow for the deserts, and then we're in the low 80s all the way through Monday.
All right, we've been talking about the rain and the mountain snow heading to California as things start to become a bit more active. And we're going to let you know what that will mean for the ski season there coming up right after this. The rain on the way for California will certainly play against their ski season as opposed to it being snow across the mountains. They are really struggling to get a good snowfall, and there's only one resort for skiers to get the snow. Connor McGill reports.
The magic carpet at Palisades Tahoe currently the only option for skiers and snowboarders to get on the snow. For some, this is a holiday trip to the Sierra, just not the winter scene they were hoping for.
We're here for a whole week hoping to get some snow, but nothing so far.
The lack of snow was hard to miss, and for many visitors, it's a big change.
In years past, I'm used to coming up here during Thanksgiving time, opening weekend, and there being a ton of snow, getting some good laps in with my girlfriend. But this year we came up and all that's open is the magic carpet.
Patrick Lacey with Palisades Tahoe says the slow start to winter is not uncommon, but one they're watching closely.
So really, we can expect this to happen about every 4 years, a bad start to the winter. But ultimately, there's been winters that have had a really low start, but a crazy amount of snow in January and February.
For now, the challenges remain real. Limited terrain, fewer lifts, and questions about when conditions will turn around. So California's largest resort facing challenges of their own with the lack of snowfall.
Yeah, ultimately, we are trying to get some more online this weekend. With these colder temps, we are going to be able to produce a little bit more snow to get a few more lifts open.
Visitors are also hoping for a white Christmas.
It's super concerning. I would have expected there to be a lot more snow by now, or at least for a couple lifts to be open. But looking at the mountain right there, there's literally no snow.
And to make their season passes worth it in the end.
I mean, obviously it's super concerning that there's not snow this time of year, but I have faith that we're doing everything that we can and that this won't be a problem in the future.
Sierra Resorts anxiously waiting for weather to turn their way.
What we can do is just kind of hope and pray that the temps will be low enough for these next storm cycles.
That does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Adam Claybon. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.